These are sayings by the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. Okay, I'll say it and I'll explain it. Whoever has faith in individual divine providence. Okay, this is a very basic, say, novelty brought by the Baal Shem Tov. This is a very basic, how do you say, it was one of the basic surprises that Chabad and generally Hasidut in general is based on. But a very unusual idea. What's the idea? That, first of all, God creates everything all the time. Everything that you see is being created from nothing constantly. Okay. But another thing, every interaction that there is, no matter how insignificant it may seem, is part of a big plan. And everything is interconnected. So if we see a leaf fall down, this the previous Rebbe's father pointed out, a leaf falls down over a worm that happens to be hungry, and he eats this worm or it protects him. This is God's divine providence. You should know there's a lot of very great rabbis. It's a very big argument. It says, God, he only directs what happens to the Jews. Some people say, no, God only directs what happens to only the religious Jews, and the others are thrown under the whims of nature. And some people say, no, God only directs what happens to people, but not to animals. And comes along the Baal Shem Tov and he says, God directs and he cares about everything that happens in the world. What happens on Mars, who knows? Everything is being directed by God. Anything that has any sort of relationship or to man, especially, is. But even if not, if you see something, you hear something, everything that exists is God is making it happen as part of a big plan. So that's what it means. That's what's called divine providence. Hashgacha pratit. He knows that man's steps are established by God. If this particular soul has to purify and improve something specific in a specific place. Okay, here we go. Listen. So this divine providence is to make the world reveal that it's God's world. In order to do that, you have to do things that a lot of times have no implications in the physical world at all. Nobody knows you're doing it. Nobody sees you doing it. Right? But this is a tremendous effect on the general welfare of the whole world. And we can see a simple example. Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, most of the things that they did, these great people were alone. Nobody saw Yaakov fight with the angel. No one saw Abraham taking his son to kill him. It was just him together with his son. There was no witnesses. The Torah gives witness that these are things that are important to God. So says the Rebbe, everything that everybody does is important to God. That's another part of this divine providence. That everything in the world is part of a plan. That plan is what God wants, and not necessarily what we want. Sometimes a person could say, well, I made it. I became a big star. I became very rich. It could be the worst thing for him. It's not what God wants. But I want to be popular, and I want to be rich, and I want to be famous, and it could be that that's what you want, but that's not what the Creator wants, right? Everybody's smiling and patting you on the back, everything like that, but that's not what God wants. It just throws everything into confusion. But it's according to standards that we're not aware of. It's God's world. Like I said, it's not our world. So it could be that there's things that you do in private that nobody sees, but God does see. God says he sees everything. And it could be that that's more of a benefit, right? Turning down fame and fortune could be more beneficial to the whole plan, and you become more famous in God's eyes than if you become, the biggest rock and roll star and the president of the United States simultaneously, and you have all the money in the world or whatever. It says man's steps are established by God, that every soul has a job to purify and improve something specific in that place. So if you're found in a place by accident, and all of a sudden the train broke down and you're found in some weird city, you don't know where it is, and Shabbos, I said, what terrible luck. you should know that the reason you're there is to do something positive. Something, to meet somebody, to do something, to say something. For centuries, or even since the world was created, that needs perfection or improvement and waits for the soul to come and purify it. This soul has been waiting also. Not only the world has been waiting, but the soul has been waiting since it came into being. The souls came into being before the world was created. For its time to come down into the world so they can do its tasks of purification and improvement assigned to it. So that's why the previous Rebbe especially, so it's so important that Jewish children should learn the Torah. Because if you don't learn the Torah, you can't fulfill the purpose for which you were brought into the world and to fix the world up. You don't know what's right and what's wrong. And that's the idea of hashgacha pratit, and every soul and every moment of life is filled with responsibility. And now let's do tomorrow's. How do we do tomorrow's? Over here we go. When you say a blessing on the Torah, okay, it says with your talis or with whatever the something, you touch the beginning and the end of the reading, and you kiss the talit where you touch the Torah, you roll up the Torah, your face slightly to the right, and you say the blessing, you open the Torah and read. There's a lot of there's a lot of customs in making the blessing, the first blessing over the Torah. When a person is called up to the Torah, so there's usually someone who reads the Torah, and then someone gets called up to the Torah, you get called up. And then that person makes a blessing on the Torah. Okay. There's a lot of people that the reader just shows them where it is and they make a blessing. And some of them, the reader shows them where the place is and they make a blessing when the Torah is open. These are good. This is just the custom of Chabad. The custom of Chabad is that when you get called up to reading the Torah, you take a cloth, something, if you have a talit, you touch the beginning where the person is going to read for you and the end. You touch the beginning and the end. You close the Torah. You turn your head slightly to the right, and you make a blessing. Then you open up the Torah and read. That's the custom in Chabad for reading the Torah. Okay, the blessing on the Torah. Sorry.